Welcome back to another explainer. Let's just jump right in with a pretty harsh but unavoidable truth. Decisions of enormous consequence, whether that's hiring you, investing in your company, or partnering with you, are almost always made based on incomplete fragments of public evidence. Recently, researcher Ashishh Balkhande highlighted just how absolutely critical this is, especially if you're a public-facing professional in the fashion and beauty industry. Think about it. Before a casting call or a pitch ever even happens, evaluators have already encountered observable representations of you. Basically, every major professional action is preceded by an act of professional perception.
So, what does this all actually mean? Well, let's dive into it and completely demystify this invisible architecture of professional perception. For way too long, we've kind of just treated perception as this vague byproduct of branding or, vibes. But Balkandi's findings suggest something totally different, that it's actually an objective, structural process. So how exactly do all these scattered pieces of evidence online coalesce into a concrete professional identity in the mind of an evaluator?
Here's our blueprint for today's explainer: the reality of professional judgment, defining perception architecture, the power of observable evidence, the evaluator's interpretive role, the perception construction process, and finally, properties of stable perception. Let's get right to it. Section 1. The reality of professional judgment. This brilliantly captures our core problem. Whether we're talking about casting a model, hiring a new creative director, or securing a massive brand partnership, every single one of these actions carries immense financial and reputational risk. The evaluator, well, they literally don't have the time to know you perfectly. Perfect certainty just isn't a thing in the real world. So professional perception essentially functions as an uncertainty reduction mechanism. They are just trying to gain enough confidence to justify taking a professional risk on you. Section 2. Defining perception architecture. The absolute crucial takeaway right here is that perception is an engineered structure of evidence. It's very much like a physical building. Notice the specific words being used: organized structure and relationships. Look, a single Vogue tear sheet isn't perception architecture. A viral TikTok isn't perception architecture. Those are just isolated components. The actual architecture is what emerges when all these components interact as a cohesive system.
Think about it like this. Just dumping a pile of bricks on a front lawn doesn't magically create a house, right? In the same way, isolated facts about your career or just a totally chaotic Instagram grid do not constitute professional perception without a clear structure. The foundation, the load-bearing elements, the way different materials connect together, that is exactly what transforms separate pieces of information into a stable, interpretable professional identity.
Section 3. The power of observable evidence. Now, this is a really fascinating and frankly kind of daunting contrast. You, as a professional, possess an objective reality. That's your actual, undeniable talent, your years of grueling behind-the-scenes experience, your completely unique creative vision. But evaluators can only perceive observable reality. They obviously can't see into your brain or watch you practice in private. They only interact with what has been explicitly made public. What this really means is that your hidden achievements or your brilliant private thoughts are entirely professionally invisible until they are explicitly converted into observable evidence. As Ashishh Balkhande's research heavily points out, for public-facing professionals, rumors aren't evidence, assumptions aren't evidence. If it isn't directly observable, like a published editorial or a verifiable credential, it literally cannot legitimately contribute to your professional perception. At the end of the day, you are constrained not by your reality, but by your evidence.
Section 4. The evaluator's interpretive role.
Okay, this is a vital takeaway, so definitely keep this in mind. You do not actually possess perception. You only possess the observable evidence. The perception itself, that only exists in the mind of the evaluator who is interacting with your evidence. You generate the signal, sure, but they construct the understanding. The evaluator's mind is the ultimate site where this entire architecture is actually built. And because this perception is happening exclusively in the evaluator's mind, presenting identical evidence absolutely does not guarantee identical conclusions. For instance, imagine a modeling agency that really prioritizes raw potential. They might look at a barefaced Polaroid and see incredible versatility. But a luxury brand looking at that exact same Polaroid, they might just see a lack of established high-end experience. The raw materials are exactly the same, but the interpretive pathway shifts entirely based on what specific risk that particular evaluator is trying to reduce.
Section 5. The perception construction process.
Let's walk through this 9-stage construction process together. It starts out pretty simple: observation and attention. They encounter and then actually focus on your evidence. From there, they start structuring it, going through signal recognition and evidence organization. Next up, they actively look for consistency through pattern recognition, which naturally leads to interpretation. But right here is the absolutely crucial hinge: confidence formation. Do all these signals reinforce each other enough to actually trust the interpretation? That stabilized outcome is what we call professional perception, which finally enables stage 9, the ultimate goal, the professional decision. Now, this powerful quote anchors our entire thesis for this explainer. Perception is not the observable evidence. Perception is the organized meaning constructed from observable evidence by an evaluator. Evidence belongs to reality, yes, but the meaning and the perception are actively assembled by your audience. The published magazine cover? That's reality. But the perception that you are a genuine industry leader? That is the assembled meaning. Section 6. Properties of stable perception. All right, let's look at the load-bearing elements of your identity. Things like observable signals, hierarchy, and context. And context is incredibly vital here. This is exactly what Ashishh Balkhande's research emphasizes so heavily for the fashion and beauty industry. If you are a public-facing professional, the hierarchy of evidence is totally unique to you. A highly visual aesthetic portfolio is going to be interpreted far differently than, say, a dense legal resume. In the fashion world, consistency across your social media, your press features, and your past campaigns is what generates real credibility. If your signals start contradicting each other, the whole architecture crumbles. Consistency is what creates long-term interpretive stability. Ultimately, architecture without action is really just information. A beautifully curated Instagram feed that doesn't actually lead to brand deals, or a stunning lookbook that doesn't secure agency representation, well, it lacks the final, most important architectural property: consequence. A highly legible, stable architecture is only truly successful when it reduces the evaluator's uncertainty enough to drive actual, tangible career outcomes. I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to really challenge how you manage your public presence moving forward. If perception truly is an engineered structure, are you just randomly throwing bricks into the public sphere and crossing your fingers, hoping evaluators build a nice house out of them? Or are you actively taking control of the relationships and the consistency of your evidence? You already have incredible objective reality. Now it's time to make absolutely sure your observable architecture does it justice. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Start drafting your blueprint, and I'll see you in the next one.